Good afternoon, everybody. It is December 18th. Yes, Friday, December 18th. This is Fourth and Long Podcast, episode 19, Winner Go Home. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today, actually a lot. But I'm pretty excited for Conference Championship weekend. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, it's going to make an interesting weekend of football.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll have a live blog up all day tomorrow with all the dates and everything. But first, let's get into today in sports history. In 2003, Otto Graham died on this day, and in 2008, Sammy Baugh died on this date. And in 1920, the American League votes to allow pitchers who use the spitball to keep using it. I still think some pitchers do use the spitball, but whatever. So how's work been going?
Busy as usual. So we
you
only have a week left, so hopefully it goes down a little bit.
Did you send Santa a letter or what you want?
Yeah, I did.
I bet you did, weirdo. All right, so we're gonna get into some news and notes. First of all, there's a congressional proposal that would basically it would overhaul college sports. It requires revenue sharing and covering athletes' medical costs. It was introduced on the Senate floor, I believe. Co-authors Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey and Senator Richard Blumenthal, Connecticut. Basically, it's just changing everything that they can make money off their likeness, which I think they should have been able to do all along. There's really no problem with that. And then basically, it's cover their medical costs, even though most times nowadays, if someone comes back for the season, they usually just take out an insurance policy on their knees, like Sam Bradford did. So that's it for that. We'll get into more of that. That's more of like an off-season thing because I think we're going to have a really interesting off-season of changing the NCAA because of just how this year went. So that'll be something for a different day, but that was just a little brief overview of it. Second piece of news, the AAC commissioner said on Wednesday that he would like to bring back the BCS because the deck is stacked so heavily against non-Power 5 teams in the playoff format. I don't know what you think about this, but I completely agree. I mean, if this isn't the year where Cincinnati and everyone's losing around them, I mean, I don't know if the BCS was horrible, so I wouldn't go back to the BCS, but I think they'll expand the playoffs to 8. Obviously, we have our alternative playoff that was 16, but I think they'll expand it to 8. I don't think they'll ever expand it more. But the bottom line is someone's always going to be bitching about not getting in. So if there's 8 teams in the playoffs, the 9th team is going to be mad. If there's 16, the 17th team is going to be mad. So there's no really way around it. But and the AAC commissioner is right. I've seen a lot of people, pundits and analysts talking about how really Cincinnati has a better resume than Ohio State, and I'm kind of in on that, kind of not, but we'll see how they do Saturday night when they play Tulsa. Finally, I think that game's been rescheduled and postponed like 3 times. So this isn't even the regular season matchup. This is just the conference championship.
Right.
But yeah, so we'll see how they do against Tulsa on Saturday. Deion Sanders and Jackson State snagged the 4th-ranked JUCO player. He was going to sign with Georgia until Deion stepped in. I mean, this is basically exactly what we said. Deion's there to bring in big names. So whether it be a JUCO or not, or someone out of high school, but Deion is literally just there to get recruits to the historically black college. So you're really emotional and really feeling this today. I can really see it.
No, I mean, it's just that they're gonna. It's not surprising that they're able to flip these commits because it's Deion Sanders, and
Yeah.
he's just a very charismatic person. And to be able to bring players, especially one from Georgia, is just gonna. It's gonna become a trend over the offseason that I guarantee you more kids are gonna start that who like verbally are already committed are gonna like either reopen it and then commit to Jackson State or just commit right out because it's Deion Sanders and because it gives them kind of a leg up if they do want to go to the next level because he has certain connections and he'll actually teach them what they need to know to get to that second level.
Yeah. The weird thing about this, though, is I mean, um, Jackson State's a 1AA team, basically.
Yeah.
I think they're in the subdivision. I'm looking at that right now. NCAA Division One football championship. So yeah, they're the FCS. So they're and if I'm a guy, I mean, I understand how persuasive Dion can be and kind of talk you through it. But I mean, if I wanted to really go pro and go to the FCS route, I mean, I'd still rather go to North Dakota State, North Dakota, South Dakota State, James
Yeah.
Madison. So, I mean, but yeah, I agree. We'll see a lot of it over the summer, and it'll be interesting, maybe 2, 3 years down the road to see what really Dion's made of that program. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. And then
Yeah, I mean
US.
it's gonna
Go
be
ahead.
very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna
USC
say I think it's
running
gonna be very interesting to see what he does.
what he
You keep
does.
cutting me off, Justin.
I'm not cutting
Yeah,
you
I think
off.
it's gonna be very well. Yeah, I keep talking and then you start talking over me.
Go ahead.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see what he turns that program into because I think it could be a very good program. I mean, I don't think we'll see. I could definitely see them being in the top 25, maybe as soon as 2 years from now.
They have to move up to FBS though.
Yeah, well, they might make that jump with Dion there.
Yeah, I would think that's probably their end goal, but I still don't really understand it. I mean, I guess I do. If you're a pro, if you want to go pro, you kind of got to listen to Dion, but whatever. So yeah, I agree. We'll talk about more of that in the off season too, because it will be interesting to see. But for the last two pieces of notes, news and notes, USC running back, oh boy, Veve Mal Pi is not expected to play in the Pac-12 title game. He was their leading rusher. He had 336 yards on the year and only one touchdown. But so he'll be missed, and that game is actually tonight at 8 o'clock, which is kind of cool. And then the last thing, Temple quarterback Anthony Russo will be transferring to Michigan State this offseason. I mean, I don't know why anyone would want to go to Michigan State. They play in the Big Ten East where they lose to Ohio State and Penn State and all those teams. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah.
with that, what do I have next? We didn't really talk about it because I guess I didn't realize it earlier this week or last week. But signing day was Wednesday,
Mhm.
so it was some pretty big commitments. I'll read off some of the winners, and then you can do the losers. Alabama is a winner. They reclaimed the top recruiting class and signed 5 stars. J.C. Latham, an offensive tackle, and Tommy Brockermeyer, offensive tackle. That's going to be a scary offensive line with those two tackles. And eventually, they're both like 6'8".
Jeez.
They also got Ja'Cory Brooks, a wide receiver, along with other big names like Terrence Ferguson and Christian Leary. Ole Miss had a good day. They flipped MJ Daniels, the number 10 athlete in the country, from rival Michigan State. LSU, with all the turmoil and tumultuous things going on there, they landed the top player in Louisiana, 5-star defensive tackle Mason Smith, because it's 2 A's. And then USC as a winner, they jumped from 15th to 11th yesterday or on Wednesday, and they got a commitment from 4-star quarterback Jackson Dart, the number 9 ranked pro style passer. I was a little bit surprised that they were like so pumped about signing a 4-star prospect. It used to be if USC doesn't get a 5-star quarterback prospect, like that used to be big news.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think people are realizing. I mean, you had Russell Wilson come out of high school with only a 3-star review, so I think people are starting to realize that some of these kids that are 4 and 3 stars have the work ethic to get them to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in, they'll probably spread it to the other team, their teammates, and be able to bring them up as well. Maybe teach some of these higher kids that, are 5-star recruits that don't, they're just gifted talent wise, but their work ethic is kind of on the fence. I think it's a good thing about that. So we'll get into the losers. I mean, you mentioned it already. Mississippi State lost MJ Daniels to Ole Miss and Malik Neighbors, who is a top 10 player in Louisiana. I mean, just really hard for Mississippi State to start losing these recruits that they thought they could have up. I mean, after a rough year, I mean, it's just adding to the fire.
Yeah.
Auburn fired Gus Malzahn on Sunday and lost some commitments from guys who committed to play for Malzahn. Originally ranked in the top 10 recruiting classes, Auburn dropped all the way to 46th on signing day because of coaching instability. And I mean, this is guys, I mean, I've been in this situation myself, guys who, a coach is like, oh yeah, we really want you to be part of a program. And then all of a sudden he's just gone. I mean, you don't want to go to a program that really doesn't, like, even though Auburn is a very stacked institution and has proper coaching, you just don't want that uncertainty of having to go waste a year of eligibility because you have to basically rebuild and learn on a completely new system that isn't what you signed up for.
Exactly.
Virginia Tech decided coach Justin Fuente, amid rumors he was going to be out. Virginia Tech should be recruiting at a top 25 level, but their class this year still ranks at number 43rd in the country.
Yeah, I'm not surprised Auburn missed out on some recruits, even though I don't know what idiot any offensive player, defensive player, I give you a pass, but any offensive player that commits to play for Gus Malzahn is an idiot. So I don't really. I mean, that's good that they all didn't have to play for him. And Virginia Tech, I mean, Virginia Tech used to be known as like special teams, beamer ball, and everything. And they've just ever since he left, it's kind of like Texas. Like they start the year like they're okay. People think this might be the year they come back, and they just don't. So I'm not surprised by Virginia Tech not having good recruiting, and because Fuente is from Memphis, I don't think he has very many recruiting like check-ins down there, and he's still trying to get used to recruiting around the state of Virginia, which is not really a hotbed, but it can be. But yeah, so Virginia Tech needs to pick it up. So we're going to do some predictions for the remaining top prospects that didn't sign. The first one is JT Tuamalau. He's fourth in the ESPN 300. He's considering Ohio State, Washington, Alabama, Michigan, and Oregon. On signing day, he, instead of signing with somebody, he just released his top 5, and that's it. So what are you thinking for Tuamalau? I don't know how to say his name.
I mean, I haven't really kept up with the recruiting. I mean, the thing with some of these kids is you got to realize that some of them can be really big in high school, but then when they get to a college, they just, for some reason, they kind of, I don't want to say phase out, but at the same time, they just can't, for some reason, they just can't make that jump right away. And I think for him, I mean, he's very talented. I've seen some of his film for a defensive end, but I mean, if he goes to Alabama, he's going to be playing behind kids that are just bigger, faster, stronger, or all three at the same time. With Michigan, I mean, does he really want to go to a program that's basically falling flat and probably going to have another coaching change within the next 2 to 3 years? And at Oregon, I mean, I think he'd make a great fit at Oregon. I mean, with that young defensive line, Kevon Thibodeau, and then Justin Flo coming back from injury, I think he would really thrive in that network. And Kevon Thibodeau was not the biggest coming out of college, but he has made a huge impact as a sophomore and as a freshman on the field at Oregon in the time that he's been there. So I think if he goes to Oregon, would be a huge plus for him because he'll get playing time right away and he'll actually be able to show at a school that has some of the best offensive linemen in the country that he can compete with top talent in the country. And it will probably make him a better player down the line for when he gets to his possibly sophomore, junior, and even senior season if he decides to go that route. I just don't think he could cut it at an Ohio State and to be honest, no one really wants to go to Washington nowadays. So
Yeah, he lists Washington just because he's from Washington.
yeah,
All the analysts are predicting him at Ohio State. He's got to put on some more muscle.
yeah,
But I mean, if you looked at the Ohio State defensive line this year, like we've talked about, I mean, they could always use upgrades. So if they snag him and the number one overall, they already snagged the number one overall recruit in Jack Sawyer from Columbus. So that they could be immediate impact guys. More likely Sawyer than Tuamolau, but you never know. The next player is Corey Foreman. You know him. He's third in the ESPN 300. He has been basically back and forth his whole recruitment. He didn't sign, and his top four are LSU, USC, Clemson, and Georgia. He's from California, so I get the USC love. But if I were him, I'd probably go to Clemson. But like I said, I don't trust Kirby Smart not to make stupid decisions. So I couldn't go to Georgia, and then LSU. Who knows what's going to happen to them if more things come out over the next couple months, and then like USC. I think USC is still that they're still going to have coaching instability with Clay Helton this year. I mean, you never know. He could. I mean, even though they haven't lost, he could see the road if hit the road if the Trojans can get a guy like Luke Fickell or possibly Urban Meyer. But so I wouldn't go to USC. But yeah, I'd be down to Clemson for me, and he'll have to wait a little bit. But he's a athletic freak. He's 6'6", and so I think he'd be really good in Clemson's defense.
Yeah, I mean, if Georgia had been at least even above average this year, just all around as a team, they were constantly in the top 10. They only lost maybe one game. That the Alabama game was the only game they lost this year. Then I would consider Georgia. But again, as you brought up, USC is not really a powerhouse team. I know he's from California, so he's got to show some love. But at the same time, you brought up the best point, the coaching instability there. You don't know if they can all go or if one's going to go, and then you got to learn a whole new system after you've learned a style of play, and that's just a headache and a half to try to deal with. LSU at the same point, I mean, we've talked about it. There's going to be something coming out after the season that's going to be some sort of huge scandal. I think you're right. I think Clemson's the best fit for him. I mean, he's going to have to wait, but he's going to be learning from guys like Xavier Thomas and Brian Brees, who's been there for a year, and more very talented and a very talented defensive line coach that will be able to teach him some more moves to his repertoire, because he is kind of a one-trick pony. He has like two moves. He needs to develop those second moves so he can get past people, especially those better players and better offensive linemen at the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he's an athletic freak. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, at one point, like last year, they had talked to him, and he had just talked to Chase Young, and he was like, "Yeah, I really like Ohio State," and like he was considering Ohio State, and then the Ohio State just fell off. So I don't know. The next couple ones, I'll just name them off, and you can kind of tell me. Terrence Lewis, he's 10th. He's considering Tennessee and Maryland. He was considering Auburn, but that's pretty much in the back pocket now. Tennessee and Maryland's a weird choice. I don't know how he got down to those two, but I think he's from the DMV area, so that's how he got Maryland. But I wouldn't want to go to either one of those programs, so I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very weird like a weird combination considering the other offers that he has. I mean, I understand he doesn't, he might not want to go to one of the bigger schools because he might not feel he has the opportunity to go there. But I think it speaks to this kid's character. I mean, I've seen some of the interviews that they've had with him, just like recruiting wise, and he wants to be able to build something from scratch. So between the two, Tennessee and Maryland, I think he'll choose Maryland just because of to his younger brother there. and an offense that is looking on the up versus a defense that's kind of been really bad. So he might be considering, hey, I can leave my mark here and make something great of this Maryland team that is on the right track on one side of the ball. Maybe I can get the other side of the ball on track. So
Yeah, I mean, Maryland did sign a 5-star receiver last year, and why can't I say, I can't remember his name. It's unbelievable. Oh, Raheem Jarrett, I think, or something like that. Um, and then I have Samar Wheaton and Tywone Malone. I think Tywone Malone will end up at either Texas A&M or Ole Miss, and then Samar Wheaton I think is definitely going to go to Oklahoma, and I
uh,
also think Tristan Lay, the 6'8" big offensive tackle, uh, he had Penn State originally and Wisconsin originally, and I think he's going to go to Oklahoma now. But that's just, I mean, you see it every year. Oklahoma gets the recruits, the offensive recruits, and they just don't get the defensive recruits because
yeah,
nobody wants to go out there and play in a defense that gives up 400 yards a game. So,
yeah.
but with that, unless you got anything else to say, we'll move on from a little bit of signing day. And we will. I just had this. If you want to say when you can, I think what
Yeah.
I kind of already said it. One true freshman who will make an immediate impact. I think Jack Sawyer will at Ohio State, and Tua Molau has an opportunity to, even
Mhm.
though he's got Togai and Haskell Garrett in front of him. But he could join that rotation. Is there anyone you think will make immediate impact?
I think one of the biggest names is someone that hasn't committed yet. I mean, I really like Terrence Lewis. I mean, just a freak athlete at linebacker. If he chooses to go to Maryland, I think he'll make an immediate impact. I mean, he'll definitely start when he gets there. They might actually move him from an outside linebacker to really a stand-up D end just
Mm,
because of his length. But I think, especially with that, if he goes there, I know he's the 10th overall recruit, but I think this kid could potentially be the number one because of his work ethic and his ability to just have an unlimited motor late in games.
yeah. So absolutely. I mean, obviously, every year you see it less and less more nowadays, but even at the big schools, it used to be like, I mean, Chase Young or the Bosa's would come in and they'd start as freshmen. It's just these big time programs have built such a good like foundation and program that almost anywhere these big guys like the number top 5 recruits go, they're going to have to fight for playing time, which is something that I would want out of my players. But with that, we head into our conference championship previews. All our picks this week are the conference championship games. We can take on locks, whatever else. I think the only other game going on, other than the conference championships, is Texas A&M at Tennessee, I believe. So if
Mhm.
you wanted to find one out of that, feel
Yeah.
free. But I
Oh,
didn't.
I don't know if you didn't mention it earlier in the news and notes, but you know the Coastal Carolina game was canceled, right? The Sun Belt Championship.
Oh, they canceled it.
Yeah, they canceled it because of outbreak at Coastal, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I probably saw it somewhere. I just forgot about it. But I
No
mean, yeah,
worries. It's just crazy. I mean, a team that I think Coastal would have definitely won this game against Louisiana, but at the same time, it's just crazy to think that, well, this is probably what's going to happen over the next 24 hours is we're going to start getting reports of some teams, oh, well, they're looking to reschedule the game now for, next Tuesday or Wednesday. But
yeah. I
I
think.
think,
I mean, the Big Ten obviously took an initiative this year. I mean, that game is usually played on Saturday in prime time on Fox. They're doing it at noon this year. They're like, let's get it over with and get the winner, send them to the playoffs, and whatever. But yeah, so I think the Big Ten kind of looked at that and did that. But like I said, all conference championships games tomorrow. There are some good matchups and there are not some good matchups. But first, let's get into the one tonight. The Pac-12 championship, Oregon versus number 13 USC.
mhm.
It's on 8 p.m. The spread is USC -3 and the over/under is 64. I really like USC -3. I don't think Oregon is capable of handling that the air raid from Keaton Slovis, especially because I think you said earlier that like half their defensive backs just don't play.
Yeah.
So I think I like USC -3, and I'd
Mhm.
stick. I wouldn't. wouldn't touch the over under, but I like USC -3 for sure. I think
Yeah.
Slovis will come out and throw 40, 45 times.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's again, you don't fix something that isn't broke. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's been working all year for them. Their defense is the only thing that really questions me. I mean, Oregon's offense has been spotty this year. You'll have games where they'll come out and just dominate the run game, dominate the pass game, and just run all over people. But it hasn't been of late. So I think again, I wouldn't touch the over under either. I mean, 64 is just a weird number, especially with both these teams, because their defense is, USC's defense can play up sometimes. And so can Oregon's. But again, you haven't seen it lately. But I think I'm going to stick with you on this one and go USC -3 also. I just think it's USC's game to lose. Again, Oregon's defensive backs just haven't played this at all this year. I think they're like, hold on, they're second in the country for allowing the most receiving yards to secondary wide receivers, which is saying something. So it's like if your first option isn't open, the second one's going to definitely be open.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like USC a lot. It'll be interesting to see what happens with them in the off season if they do win, because I would say unless hell freezes over, they're not going to make the playoff even if they win.
Mhm.
But it should be a good launching point into next year. Ride the momentum, and
Mhm.
if they go 6-0, I see no reason why they need to fire Clay Helton right now. But but maybe then next year if he has a bad year, you let him go. But if they win out and they win their bowl game or they go to a bowl game, that's a good jumping off point and to carry momentum into the next year. So yeah, I like USC.
I was also going to say you could also see some of these commits. I mean, Corey Foreman could just be like, well, F Clemson, F Georgia, F LSU, I'm going to USC after they just won a Pac-12 championship. So
I don't think
it could be. I'm saying it could be, but you never know.
maybe in Dream World. But I think he'll end up in the South somewhere in the SEC, and then probably transfer out like Russo did for Miami. So the next one is obviously it's got pretty big implications. Wow, did you look at the outline? I put Pac-12 championship for the Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Whoopsies. But the Big 10 championship, Ohio State's versus Northwestern. The spread is OSU's favored by 20.5, and the over/under is 57. I don't think Ohio State's going to come out and beat them like they did Wisconsin in 2014 in the Big Ten championship, where they beat them like 66-0. But I think this is going to be a pretty easy win. I think. Northwestern just focused on defense and forcing you to turn the ball over, and except for one game, Justin Fields is like the anti-turnover machine. So I like them to cover as well. I think it stays close about until half, and then Ohio State pulls away, kind of like they did last year against Wisconsin as well. In the end, I think Garrett Wilson and Olave are going to have pretty big games.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's so difficult because Northwestern has been so wishy-washy this year. They played down against Michigan State, but they played up mostly this year. So it's just, I would stay, to be honest, I think I'm going to stay away from the over-under here because, again, we could see a game like the Notre Dame-Louisville game where it's very low scoring and surprisingly very close because
I just love that Notre Dame-Louisville game. I think you bring it up every week.
I mean, I just think it was like people don't like it because it was a very defensive matchup and there wasn't as much offense. But for a person who you truly love football, you love those defensive games because it's a grind and it's football. There's no you're going to see 600 yards passing in this game, absolutely no defense. You're going to score on every other play. It's just it's not in my opinion, it's not entertaining to watch, but. I have to take Northwestern plus 20.5. I think OSU is still going to win, but I just don't think they're going to win by that much because they're going to get up, say, by 14, maybe 17 points, and they're just going to want to run the ball out because they don't want Justin Fields to take a hit against that defensive line. And Ohio State's offensive line, when they face a really good defensive line, has given up some pressure.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna, I think again, I don't think Northwestern's gonna win, but I just don't think they're gonna win by 20 or more.
Yeah. Like, I mean, so the interior offensive linemen, this center and two guards were supposed to be like the big. They came back this year for Ohio State. It was Wyatt Davis. I don't know who the center is. I don't know who the other guard is. But they were supposed to be the guys that were leading the offensive line. But really, it's the two new offensive tackles. They're the highest ranked players on their offensive line by PFF. So. Yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually kind of happy it's at noon, so I can watch it and then just focus in on the Browns game on Sunday night, which I wish to God they weren't playing on Sunday night. Whenever they get into prime time, I just get embarrassed. But so that we cover the Big Ten, the Pac-12. No, I'm just kidding. The Big 12 championship, number 10 Oklahoma versus number 6 Iowa State. I believe this game is at Iowa State. Because I don't think they play what?
It is.
Yeah, because I don't think they play a neutral site. So I think that gives Iowa State not as big as but I think it gives them a huge advantage. Oklahoma was coming in after pretty much blitzing Baylor the last weekend and then Oklahoma State the week before. So they should be riding high, and they probably have to think they're the favorites going into this game.
Mhm.
But I really like Iowa State. If they can hand the ball off to Breece Hall, 20, 25 times, and Brock Purdy, the quarterback, can just almost be a little bit more than a game manager, but kind of like the Browns offense, I guess. Like you have Baker, he can do things, but you really want to get the ball to the running back and Breece Hall or Nick Chubb in the Browns situation. But yeah, so and the spread on that game was Oklahoma is favored by 5.5, and the over/under is 58.
Yep.
I like Iowa State outright.
Absolutely. I think this is like last week's UNC versus Miami, Florida game.
Yeah.
It's just everyone's like, oh, Miami, Florida's got a chance. Oklahoma's got a chance here. No, they don't. Again, they're in Iowa. It's not going to happen. Iowa's just going to run the ball. And as you said, their quarterback just needs to be just a little bit more than a game manager, which with that offensive line and how they've held protection this year is not a problem. So I definitely agree with that pick and choosing Iowa outright. I think Oklahoma this year is just – I mean, we said at the beginning of the year, can we stop talking about Oklahoma and saying, oh, they deserve to be in the top 4 every single year?
Yeah,
no,
I mean
– they don't. They really don't.
The sick thing about Oklahoma fans right now is they're like waiting for Saturday thinking that they're going to get in the playoffs if they beat Iowa State. They're sitting there, they're like, oh, things will turn out for us. They know Oklahoma, the team that gets beat by 40 in every semifinal game. So, yeah, Oklahoma, they're coming in on a high, but I think Iowa State takes care of business and they win outright. Like I said, I'll just take it outright. And like you said, the next one is the Sun Belt Conference Championship, which is canceled. So with that being the case, I don't know if Coastal – it's going to be interesting to see who finishes higher in the rankings, Coastal and Cincinnati, because really only one of those teams is going to get a bid to like the New Year's Six Bowls. They can't really give it. I mean, I wouldn't think they would give it away, but so it'll be interesting to see where they end up. And I kind of wish they were playing. That would have been a good game at 3:30. Turn off the Ohio State game, turn on the Sun Belt for a little bit, and then you get into probably the biggest championship game.
I mean, rematch of game of the year. I mean, that earlier on in the season, that I think I can't see another game that compares to Notre Dame versus Clemson without Trevor Lawrence as another game of the year contender.
Yeah, so ACC championship game, it's played in Charlotte. It'll be between number 2 Notre Dame and number 3 Clemson. Starts at 4. I was shocked by the spread. I don't know if you saw it, but I mean, Clemson's favored by 10.5 and the over-under is 60. I would definitely hit the under at 60 because I don't think that they're going to score. But I also think Clemson will win, but they're not going to win by 10.5 points. I think that the ACC is setting itself up perfectly to get 2 teams in. It'll be a close game. Clemson will win, but cover. So Notre Dame will drop to 4. Clemson will bump up to number 2. Ohio State will be 3. So we'll
Yeah.
have a couple. We'll have basically a rematch of last year's semifinal, I think. But yeah, so it's a huge game. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, we already saw Notre Dame versus Clemson, but we saw it with just DJ.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see what Trevor Lawrence, if he's really all that we think he is. He should eat up that defense.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if he can because that defense is very good. So, I think it'll be a slower paced game, kind of. But like I said, I like Notre Dame to cover 10.5, but I think Clemson will win. And the over under, I would go under 60, just because I think Clemson will get up early and Notre Dame will have to try and fight back, and that's not really what they do best. They are better with a lead than trying to get the lead. So
Yeah. I mean, you're entirely right. I think this is going to be a grind, and I think Clemson will win, as you said, but I don't think they'll win by more than 10. I think it's going to be like maybe a field goal touchdown game.
Yeah.
And I would definitely take the under here, 60. I just think it's going to – I hate to bring it up again. Notre Dame versus Louisville game. Both defenses can play up in big games, and it's going to be one of those types of games. Ian Book, I think, is going to revert back to his old self of trying to be a game manager. I know he's shown some lights these last couple of weeks of not being a game manager, but in this big a stage again, I think he has the potential to show out, but I just think he'll revert, especially when Trevor Lawrence is across the field versus DJ Uiagalelei. I think he's gonna crush under the pressure and under that starlight of what is Trevor Lawrence, and he's just going to try to help this team run through it. We'll talk about it later, but if they can get Kyron Williams going again, I see Notre Dame potentially winning this game.
Yeah, they started off the first matchup incredibly. That 60-yard run by Kyron Williams, that set the tone. That was huge. And then talking about the over-under, like I will take the under of 60, but then every time in my head I'm thinking, the last time they played, it was 47-40. They scored 87 points. So, but I think this will be a much it feels like the previous Clemson Notre Dame game was kind of like it was fast paced. It was just things going on and on. And I think this will be a much slower paced game, which probably helps Notre Dame. But like I said, I'm with you and you're with me. Clemson wins, but Notre Dame covers, and just like that, you have 2 ACC teams in. I would be shocked if Clemson won close game and they both didn't get in. I would be shocked. But if they blow them out, then I think Clemson knocks out Notre Dame completely from the playoffs. But
hey,
or Notre Dame could knock off Clemson, which would so then you'd have Alabama, Clemson, or Notre Dame, Ohio State, and then that fourth is up for grabs.
If we'll talk about it next, but if Florida can pull off the upset against Alabama, it's going to be probably one of the biggest stories in the last number of years, because it's the first time that a team in the SEC could actually compete at the same offensive level as Alabama.
Well, you'll see my prediction for that one, but I think Alabama's locked in. I even if they got killed by Florida.
I'm not saying
I hear you. Yeah, I got you. But yeah, I think Alabama will take care of business. I believe, which sucks because this game would have been a lot more interesting if Florida just could have taken care of LSU last week. It would have been a lot more interesting. And also, I said the only other game going on was A&M and Tennessee. A&M better not slide and lose to Tennessee, or they're gonna be kicking themselves while they watch an Iowa State or Cincinnati get in the playoffs. But yeah, the more I've thought about it, the more I just want complete chaos. I wouldn't even be mad if Ohio State lost and there's just chaos. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I think all these championship games are gonna be close. and they should all be pretty good games. I mean, it is conference championship weekend, but it's clearly by far the best slate of games we've had all year. I mean,
Oh
which
yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
apropos.
I can't name another week that we've had. Every matchup could potentially be another game of the year contender. I mean, it
Yeah,
has to live up to that Notre Dame versus Clemson matchup, but a lot of these games could. I mean, I think the only one that's not going to be as close as everyone thinks it is could possibly be either the Iowa State versus Oklahoma game or the Iowa State versus Northwestern game.
yeah,
Potentially.
I hear you. I hear you. So with the ACC championship, oh yeah, you did. You picked Notre Dame plus 10.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then
And
we'll hop
and
into.
sorry, with that, I'm gonna take back my over under because you kind of flipped me here. I think they could potentially score another 40 points, especially with those defenses not being up to par. So I'm going to step away from the over under in that game.
Yeah. Okay, and then we're gonna head to what usually is the biggest game, and it's nice to see a new face in there that's not Georgia versus Alabama for like the
Yeah.
fifth year in a row.
Mhm.
I guess last year was LSU and Georgia, but the spread in this game, Bama is favored by 17. I'm kind of surprised. I thought they'd be favored by more. And the over under is 75. I would hit the under very hard because it's either going to be a fight 'em out like a brawl, street brawl, where it's low scoring, or one team, probably Alabama, is going to crush Florida, and or Alabama will put up like 52, but Florida will put up like 14.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my looking at that one. I'm not, like I said, I'm not as excited about that one because Florida just. I mean, you can't lose LSU like that. I mean, what game were we talking about earlier this year? Oh, the Penn State Ohio State game.
Yeah.
The SEC championship game has kind of lost its luster now. Like
Mhm.
I can see a way where Florida sneaks in, but I think it's going to be tough. So
Yeah. I mean, again, they need Notre Dame to upset Clemson and
yes,
Charlotte, and and with Trevor Lawrence at the helm of that Clemson team, I just don't think it's. I think they're going to put up a good fight, but I can't see Ian Book actually showing out again. I mean, when he was going up against the backup, second year player on the field, and it's just I just can't see that happening. So I mean we've talked about it before. I'm a huge Florida supporter. I still think that offense is going to hopefully make it close. I'm hoping they will make it close. But again, they have no answer for Devontae Smith. I think their front seven can stop Najee Harris, but Devontae Smith is just another animal. I mean, they don't have a corner that can stay with him. And
no,
what are you going to do? Double cover him the entire game? It's just
yeah.
going to leave everyone else open. And they have too
Well,
many weapons at other places.
it's like it's kind of the same for both teams. Like, what's the only way to stop Kyle Pitts? You got to double him. What's the only way
Yeah.
to stop Devontae Smith? You got to double him. Devontae Smith, I don't really think he's. You can try and double him with like an over under, like kind of like that, but he's just too shifty to have two guys following him around all the time. So I
Mhm.
don't think. We said it earlier this week, but I think Devonta Smith will end up in the top 5 rankings of the Heisman. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I
he's
agree with that.
ever since Waddle went down. I mean, I haven't looked at his stats, but he's got to be averaging over 100 a game and a touchdown a game. So, but
Yeah. The only thing I
with
have to
that,
say is they haven't. Sorry, I just have one thing to say. So, with that being said, though, if Kyle Pitts in this game, it's a lot closer. If Kyle Pitts doesn't play in this game, Alabama wins outright. So, and they haven't announced the status of Kyle Pitts. They say he's still questionable. So, and they pulled him last week, which I think was a smart decision in the long term because they wanted him for this game. But now he's in jeopardy of not even playing in this game. If Kyle
is,
Pitts doesn't play, Florida doesn't have a chance of winning this game. If Kyle Pitts doesn't.
is Pitts still out with the concussion?
So apparently it was an abdomen injury. It
Oh,
wasn't. It was not the. It was not the head injury.
oh okay. Because all I remember is I remember him saying he had a. You saying or I'm reading somewhere where it was a concussion, but yeah, I mean, Kyle Pitts is. I mean, Florida does have an X factor, and that's Kyle Pitts and
Yeah.
Kyle Trask. I mean, he's still in the Heisman race, and if he has a great game and they can beat Alabama, I think he'll win the Heisman. But if Alabama wins, I think it's Mac Jones's,
Yeah, I
which
agree with
sucks.
that.
Which
Yeah.
sucks, but whatever. And then, we kind of talked about earlier, the American Athletic Conference Championship, number 23 Tulsa versus Cincinnati. This is also a conference championship game that the better record hosts them, so they're going to be playing at Nippert Stadium. I doubt you've ever been there. I've been there a couple times. It's a tough place to play. It's
Mhm.
weird. It's more set up for like soccer. It's really weird. But so they got to travel all the way. I mean, with snow, the snowstorm that hit the East Coast last night and the past couple of days. I mean, they're probably flying out this morning or this afternoon, and I mean they got to adjust to a time change. So I think Cincinnati takes care of business. Although I think Tulsa is good enough that they'll cover the spread, but Cincinnati wins. I think Cincinnati minus 14.5 is a bit too much. If it was minus 9.5 or 10, I'd probably take it, but
Mhm.
I don't think they'll win by more than a touchdown and a field goal.
See, I think the opposite. I think Cincinnati is going to come out again and just dominate. I think they'll win by at least 20 points. So I'm going to have to take Cincinnati minus 14.5 here. I mean, we've said it earlier on, Cincinnati's been one of those teams, but they've just proven people wrong. They were favored a couple weeks ago only by 3, and they won by like 30. So I'd have to say that I'm gonna stick with Cincinnati here. I think I bet against them enough, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with them this week. I think you're right. I think Tulsa will be able to stay with them. I just with the track record they've had when they're favored by this many points, they always go over. So
Yeah, I feel you. Quick question. What was your pick for the Alabama Florida game?
Florida here's the thing with Kyle Pitts, Florida
Okay. Yeah, but you
plus
don't
17.
know. You gotta
No,
make it.
I'm gonna take Florida plus 17.
All right, cool. I'll be sure to text you at work when I know that he's not playing. Okay.
I don't work
um.
tomorrow, so
Oh, that's
actually,
good. That's
yeah.
good. That's
It's
good.
it's like I'm so thankful because I'll actually be able to watch these great games.
Yeah, and I can play Madden without you tormenting me asking about our picks because I don't care. I just want to play Madden. I'm also really liking the new Madden, how they come. I mean, obviously it's been going on for a while, but they re-rank the players like every week after performance. Baker's like a top 5 quarterback in Madden right now. It's awesome. But
I mean, he should be. He's been playing really well.
yeah, he had. I mean, even the pick. We're off topic, but even that. I don't know if you saw the Monday night game versus Baltimore. I mean,
Oh,
even
I
the
did.
pick. Yeah, the pick he threw. I mean, that was just a great defensive play by Bowser.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It wasn't like it was just an unfortunate bounce, and it went Ravens' way. I mean, it's just and the game was unfortunate. I mean, you have Justin Tucker across the field. You just left way too much time on the field.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. And as soon, I mean, that was so Baltimore was favored by 3 in that game. That was a horrible beat for some
Yeah.
bettors because they hit the field goal to go up like 45-42, and then they got a safety, so they covered. But yeah, if you if you bet that game and you bet and you lost, that sucks because
Yeah.
that's a terrible way to lose.
Mhm.
But we'll move on from the NFL.
Mhm.
Even though we will have some NFL conversations in the off season. I mean, I know I put it out yesterday, but I don't think I would, if I was repicking the Baker draft, I don't think I would take anyone other quarterback over him. Maybe Josh Allen, but
No,
whatever.
not even Josh Allen at that point.
Baker just fits Cleveland. It's kind
Yeah.
of what he is. He just fits it. And like a lot of people understand, a lot of people, what?
I was gonna say he's turned that program around. He's really has. I mean, they become an actually winning team, and will actually have. They've made the playoffs the last 2 years now.
They didn't make the playoffs last year.
I thought they had. Well, they had the opportunity to make the playoffs, which is the first thing Cleveland fans have been able
Yeah,
to
they
say.
were in the hunt. I mean, they were in the hunt that the last game they lost last year to. No, that was they weren't even close to the playoffs last year. You're thinking about Baker's rookie year.
Yeah, that's what I'm
They
thinking about.
played Baltimore in their last game, and like if certain things happens, like if they beat Baltimore and other things happened, like they would hop over them. But yeah, so I mean, we have a lot of off-season topics to cover.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, I'm gonna go into my locks. I did locks this week, and I think there's
Mhm.
6 conference championship games. I'm not sure. I
Well, you
like,
had the coastal one, which so technically you have five because
yeah,
coastal.
yeah, because I have Coastal Carolina. Yeah, okay. I like Ohio State, Northwestern under 57. Like I said, it's either going to be a gritty battle, low scoring battle, or Ohio State's going to win 52-0. In my
Right.
opinion, I think that's it. I put Iowa State plus 5.5. I think they're going to win outright, but just for the case of to be right, I need to pick up some wins.
Yeah.
I like Iowa State plus 5.5. I liked Coastal -3. I was surprised they were only favored by 3, but that's not going on.
Mhm.
I like Notre Dame plus 10.5. Alabama, Florida under 74. Um, Under 75. I'm sorry. And then Cincinnati, Tulsa over 45.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna kind of follow your lead a little bit. I think I'm also gonna take the under in the Ohio State Northwestern game because again, it could be really close and low scoring, or it could be, as you said, 32-0, 35-0.
So,
Um,
what's your locks? Just read them off to me.
okay. So same as you, Ohio State, the under 57,
All right.
Iowa State plus 5.5.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the over in the Clemson and Notre Dame game of 60. I'll play a little bit risky this week. I will go the under of 75 for the Alabama game. And then I will take Cincinnati minus 14.5 as my last one.
All right. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, I mean we pretty much come to a consensus. We're kind of on the same page on most of these.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean um it really should be a good weekend in football, and I'm looking forward to it.
Mhm.
Um I have players to watch this weekend. I don't know if you have any. Um
Again, we're on the same page. Those were my
yeah,
two players to watch this week as well.
so our 3 players to watch are basically the linchpins for these teams. Like they have to play well for their team to win the conference.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
Kyle Trask, if Florida has any chance of beating Bama, Trask needs to have a career day. He's already got over 3,700 yards and 40 touchdowns. But to win, I think Trask needs to like throw something like 37 for 45, 400 plus yards and 4 touchdowns plus.
And
And
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say another thing that needs to not happen is he can't go over 2 turnovers this game. He has to have 0 turnovers.
Oh
No
yeah,
one,
you
no,
can't, especially against Alabama. They take advantage of that turnover right away.
no, exactly. But he's had multiple games this year where he's thrown 2 picks. I think he is like third. He's third in the country right now for picks thrown. So it's not a high number, but he's had multiple games of 2 picks. So he needs to. And they haven't always been his fault. It's either been like off the hands of a
Yeah.
wide open wide receiver or something. But that's again, as you said, can't have it in this game, and he needs to have that career day.
And then we both agreed Kyron Williams, the running back from Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
He burst onto the scene in the first matchup. He opened the scoring with a 60-yard touchdown run. Clemson's defense is stout, and Ian Book has been playing solid, so look for Williams to have a big game if Notre Dame wants to overcome the 10.5 point spread. Yeah, I mean they can't get in. Notre Dame can't get into a shootout with Clemson. Like
No,
they
they
can't.
don't. They don't have like their defense is really good, but at the end of the day, you still have Travis Etienne, who's a very versatile back who's been quiet. He could go off for a big game, so you still need to neutralize him. And they have their biggest leader back in Trevor Lawrence. You
Yeah,
face them once without him. If even if Alabama wins against Florida, if they are even close in that game and Kyron and Notre Dame comes out and actually beats Clemson with Trevor Lawrence, they should be number 1 team in the country.
Yeah,
I
I
I
agree.
mean, it's just you beat them with their backup barely, but you still beat them, and you beat them with their star quarterback. I mean, you can't make a better argument for being number one this year.
And I think you said it last week. Like, if Trevor Lawrence doesn't win a Heisman, he'll come back. I think if they don't make the playoff, I also think he'll come back.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a
Uh,
very big possibility now.
yeah, I mean,
Because everyone's doubting. Trevor Lawrence is still a great quarterback, but he's had, coming back from COVID and he has not looked like himself. This game, he needs to come back and be the Trevor Lawrence everyone knows him for, and throw 5, 6 touchdowns.
and then our last player to watch is Brees Hall, the running back from Iowa State.
Mhm.
He's probably the most underrated player in the country. I think he's a shoo-in for the Doak Walker. If Iowa State wants to keep pace with Oklahoma's flying offense, he needs to be handed the ball 25, 30 times. Yeah, I mean, they just need him to. They need Iowa State. The Cyclones need Brees Hall to set the pace and the tone of the game. It's because if they let Oklahoma and Spencer Rattler, Lincoln Riley set the pace or tone of the game, they have no chance because they cannot win in a shootout versus Oklahoma. I don't think. But all right, so and then those are our three players to watch. Um, I did my final top six. It'll come out Sunday, so we won't talk or have a show before then. Um, I think the top six is going to be number one, Alabama, two, Clemson, three, Ohio State, four, Notre Dame, five, Texas A&M, and six, Florida.
Yeah.
You got
I have your same top four. However, I have Cincinnati at number 5 and Texas A&M at number 6. I think if Florida loses to Alabama, it's just there's no way they'll finish in the top 10, I believe, but I they might not even finish in the top 10, but I think they'll finish, at least top 15, worst case scenario. I just think if they lose to Alabama again in this game, they lost to LSU last week. They're not finishing inside the top 10 if they lose to Alabama. I think Iowa State has a better chance of finishing higher, unfortunately, if they win, which they probably will. And Cincinnati definitely will win, so I think they'll finish higher.
I feel you. I feel you. We're gonna skip over these award picks and the Heismanology for right now.
Mhm.
We'll have. I mean, loads of time to do that. The award show on ESPN is like January 11th or something, and
Yeah, we have
basically,
time. We can have time before that. So
yeah, yeah. So with that, we're gonna get into um my alternative playoff. Jake, you said you looked at it.
Yep.
What did you think of it?
I really I think it's a really good format. I mean, I know some of these early on games are not going to be the best, but you get into deeper matchups and you have a potential for some really, really good matchups. And I I think it's just as you said earlier, and you admitted this. I think they'll expand it eventually to 8 teams. I can't see them going over 8 teams. I just think
No.
16 is way too many, and then the time frame that college football has you don't have a month to do a whole playoff. I think if you have 2-3 weeks, I think it's very, very doable.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, the eight would be as far as I think they would go.
Yeah.
But the votes are all in. We have our first round winners. Number one, Alabama. I think I had them versus North Carolina. Beat North Carolina 16-1 in voting. Not very much parity there.
Mhm.
Notre Dame also won over Northwestern 12-2 votes.
Mhm.
Ohio State over BYU 12-2.
Mhm.
Clemson 11 votes to USC 2 votes. I'm surprised by that. I think Clemson USC would be a good game.
Yeah.
Um, and then Texas A&M gets by Oklahoma 9 votes to 4. First upset 11, not really an upset, but 11 Florida upsets Cincinnati. Florida had 10 votes. Cincinnati had 4. Um, and then I made the tiebreaker on this one, 7 Indiana versus 10 Georgia. It was tied at 7, so I went with Indiana. And then the last game of the first round was Iowa State versus Coastal, and Coastal moved on 9 votes to 5. So um, basically, I put out an article today of the winners and everything. So make sure you click on that and vote for the round 2 winners. I believe our matchups are, because I redid the matchups, so the top seed would play the lowest seed. So it looks like Florida will play Alabama again. Um, and then Coastal would play Notre Dame. Ohio State would play Indiana again, but yeah, those are just some of them. So there's going to be 4 games. Feel free, go on and look on them. I just posted it today. It should be up. So basically, what anything to say about the matchups? I think they went pretty much how I think they would go in real life for the most part.
No, I think you're completely right. I can't see them really being that big of a thing. I mean, Florida against Cincinnati. I think Florida would just their offense is too much for Cincinnati. That would be like a dream matchup. For Florida, I think the only one that I'm questioning is the Indiana Georgia one. Georgia can play up at some points, and Indiana has really been impressive this year. But I think Georgia in those big types of moments, they have the experience to maybe push out Indiana, in my opinion. I think that's the only one that.
I think in real life, Georgia would beat Indiana by a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make some parity, and so I put the extra vote for Indiana.
No worries.
So with that, like I said, that's out. Go vote for it. Voting will be closed next Thursday. And obviously, whenever we have our second podcast next week, Thursday or Friday, we will do the winners and we will come up with our final 4. But for now, let's get into a little bit 1-minute debate. Which is better, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? I'll let you go first.
All right. I'm gonna have to say Christmas Day, just because I've worked Christmas Eve the past 2 years. I like having a day I can just relax with my family, and especially this year, you got Wonder Woman 1984 coming out, and my guy, Wonder Woman's been the only really good movie out of the DC universe over the last couple of years. I gotta go with
Avengers Endgame. Oh wait, DC. Never mind.
I said DC movie. But I think Christmas Day, I mean, there's no better joy when you're a kid waking your parents up at like 7, 8 a.m. when you know they've been up late all night, and it's just been like making sure you didn't wake up and see Santa, and just waking them up and opening presents and that new toy smell. Nothing beats that.
That's a good argument for Christmas Day. I will pick Christmas Eve because I'm more of a low key kind of guy. I just like to hang out and everything. So we watch Spinal Tap every Christmas Eve. We all laugh. It's great. And then I mean, I don't partake, but people get to have, some nightcaps, and you play a couple games, and it's just pretty laid back. And then you don't have wrapping paper everywhere and dogs going crazy. It's just a low key night. So that's my comment. What did you say to me? Yeah, they haven't posted it yet. I don't know. I messaged Randy, but he said okay. So, and then with that, we'll get into our final thing, trivia. I will go first because I actually have them. I don't think did I send them to you on accident?
No, I didn't get your question.
All right. This is multiple choice. What team has played in the most bowl games? A, Alabama, B, Texas, C, USC, D, Nebraska.
You said this was one of my questions earlier on. I'm pretty sure, like earlier on in the year. You said how many? Who? What was the question again? How many?
What team has played in the most bowl games?
I'm gonna go with Nebraska.
Okay.
Well, I guess I was wrong, but
yeah, you were. Yeah. You can go with yours.
My first question is, who was the MVP of the 2003 Orange Bowl between Iowa and USC?
I won US 2003. Was it? No, that's not right. In 2003, didn't wasn't it USC versus Texas 2003 or was that 2005?
That was 2005.
Well then, Mark Sanchez,
Okay.
Carson Palmer. Oh, okay. I was close.
You're right.
All right. And we're only doing two today, so here's my last one. In 2019, Chase Young won the Bednarik and Nagurski trophies. Who was the last player to win both in the same year? Hint: it's an SEC player.
You said so the Ben Derrick and
Bednarik and Nagurski. They're both like to the best defensive player and the best defensive lineman, kind of. But they're two defensive awards for outstanding defensive players.
right. Uh, did can you give me what division the school was in? Like what was it, a Big 12? Was it
Yeah, I said it's SEC.
oh, SEC? Okay.
Yeah.
Was it what, oh, I remember his name. Um I don't was it Mu I forget his name. It's I know it's Mukamu. Mukamu. It's MU. I want to look it up there right now.
Okay, well, you're wrong, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, got it. Okay, I see. Not surprised, but I should have done better.
All right, what's your next one?
My last question is before Carson Palmer in 2002. Who was the last Pac-12, Pac-10 player to win the Heisman? This should be easy for you.
Carson Palmer, Pac-12.
No, Pac-10. Sorry, Pac-10. I misspoke.
Same thing.
Oh.
2002, you said he won it?
Yeah.
Who's the last Pac-12 player? One of the quarterbacks. No, was it Leinart?
No.
Oh, Leinart was afterwards. Okay, who was it? I don't know how you thought I would get that.
Because I asked the same question earlier on in the year.
I mean, I didn't even know he went to a Pac-12 school.
Oh.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that'll do it for us on a pretty low-key day, but we're all excited for tomorrow. And Jake doesn't have to work. I will be playing Madden. And just in the conclusion, we will update the schedule. I will put something out probably this weekend or early next week about what days we're going. And make sure you check us out on social media at the number 4TH and Long Pod. Make sure everyone has a safe, warm, and happy holidays. And Jake, what do you want most for Christmas?
I want money towards a car because we've been car shopping, so that's like my biggest thing this year. Especially going to Pepperdine next year, and I want to still work at my job. I'm gonna need a car to commute to and from work when I can work.
Lucky you. All
What do you
right.
want for Christmas, Justin?
What do I want?
Yeah.
What did I get? What did I say? I wanted I want a new TV. I'm buying myself a new TV.
Of course.
Because my other one it like doesn't when I plug the HDMI cord in, it doesn't read it on my old TV right now, and I have to like mess with it every 5 minutes to get it to show the screen, and I'm very frustrated with it. It's actually broken now. I threw it outside the window, and yeah, but so hopefully I'll get a new TV, and then I just want the strength to get through the next 19 days sober, so I can do a full year. But with that, that's going to do it for us. Like I said, everyone, make sure you're having a safe, healthy, happy Christmas, or Hanukkah, whatever. Happy holidays. Make sure that I know that if we're having people over, I've already talked to my mom that I'm wearing a mask. I can't afford to get COVID right now, so just make sure you stay safe. Get everyone what they want. Don't drive drunk, and that's pretty much it for me. Anything for you?
Make smart decisions and just be safe this year, guys.
All right. We will see you next week sometime. So we will talk before Christmas.
Mhm.
But all right. Sounds good. Later.
Later.